All right, now we're live everywhere. Hello there again, Instagram and YouTube, Facebook, our smoothie shredders. Hope you guys are all doing well today. This is Dr. Brooke Goldner from Goodbye Lupus, and I'm here as I am every Wednesday to spend some time with you guys to answer your questions and make sure that you're getting the best information possible for your health and your life. I actually just finished doing a news broadcast that should be showing up tonight. I'll make sure to post it when I see it. And one of the things we were talking about was that there's a new study coming out showing that young people, are now getting colon cancer at really high and alarming rates when it used to only be older folks. And they wanted to talk about why that is. And what they found by researching it is that there's 3 factors, and these factors are actually completely related to each other: diet, the bacteria in your gut or your microbiome, and inflammation. And diet leads directly to the type of bacteria that prefer to live in your gut. And both the diet and the bacteria will promote or inhibit inflammation. So really, it comes down to the same thing that it has been all along, that it's not just colon cancer rates that are going up, but it's colon cancer and heart disease and autoimmune diseases. Remember when I talked about how autoimmune diseases have been spreading around the world to places they never existed before. And when researchers last year tried to find out if there was a genetic reason, what they found instead was that the rise and spread of autoimmune diseases is exactly mirroring the rise and spread of the Western diet. Well, what they found for the colon cancer issue is it's most linked to processed food, diets high in processed foods, meat, and low in vegetables. Same thing for heart disease, same thing for autoimmune diseases. And so rather than there being just, looking at things independently as Western medicine tends to do, I like to look at things holistically, to look at the trends of what's happening. Our diets are worse than they've ever been. People are eating worse than they've ever been. They're more sedentary than they've ever been. You can get crap delivered right to your door in most places where you used to have to go out and get it. And people are sicker than ever, younger than ever. When I was 16, I was told I was young to have lupus and kidney failure. But I've treated people with the same problem and helped them reverse their disease 2 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old. So whether it's mental health or all the different types of physical health, it's worse than it's ever been. And people are sicker at younger ages than ever before. And it all comes back to the same problem. It all comes back to the same problem. One interesting study that they mentioned in this whole colon cancer thing was how they did a study where they took bacteria from normal bacteria for humans on the Western diet, and they put those bacteria in a mouse intestine, and it caused cancer in their colon. Something to think about. And if you want a really beautiful colonoscopy, like I just had, plant-based, right? Super high fiber. And actually, that's old news. Even 20 years ago when I was a student, they did say that colon cancer was linked to diets high in meat, low in vegetables and fiber. So old news, but becoming more and more important for people younger and younger. So that is my important news for you guys today. And I hope that you listen to it, whether you're sick now or you're worried about getting sick. This is still the same answer. What's right for your body is right for your body. And anyone telling you to eat a low fiber, high meat diet, run from them, crawl from them, do whatever you can to escape. But don't listen to them. Okay, so let's get into the questions here. All right, I started with Instagram last time, so I'm going to come over here. Let's start with Facebook this time. Let's see what's going on here. Hello, everybody. All right, let's see what this says. I've had coronary heart disease. This is from Trish. I'm hypernourishing, and I've been whole food, plant-based, no oil, salt, processed foods for 6.5 years. Since I have coronary heart disease, Dr. Esselstyn recommends only having 2 tablespoons of flax seeds. Is that enough to receive the benefits of hypernourishing? Will less slow down the process? I've been very strict with staying away from things that could clog my arteries, so your thoughts are greatly appreciated. Well, I have something better for you than my thoughts. I have results. Results show that high omega-3s are protective for the heart. There were studies that looked at this, even looking at things like fish oil back in the day. There are definitely protective benefits to omega-3 fatty acids. They do not clog arteries. How do I know it? From evidence and from results. So you got to understand, a lot of the old recommendations came from taking people from a plant-based diet or from a meat-based diet, meat and cheese and all that stuff, animal product-based diet, to a fat-free plant-based diet. And it was really good for the heart. And so then there was an assumption made that wasn't tested, that all fats are therefore bad for the heart. But if you actually test adding high doses of flax and chia seeds and even flaxseed oil to people with heart disease, which I do every day because I've been doing this for a long time, their heart disease gets better. Their heart function gets better. So there is no downside. I understand the fears around things that have fats, but I never teach based off of fears or assumptions. I just teach based off of results. And the results show that omega-3 fatty acids are very good for your heart. In fact, there's some cardiologists in New York that I talk to who prefer my protocol over all others for heart disease. And they found that their patients do the best when they teach them how to integrate the green smoothies and hypernourishment to their diet. They heal faster and they tend to stay with it longer as well. So that is good news for you. So go ahead and bring up those omega-3s, do full hypernourishment, and you'll be glad that you did. And hopefully you are in some good shape. All right, let's see here. While I'm over on this side of things, let's see what YouTube is asking. All right, let's see here. So Torzatron, you sound like you're in a video game. It is thought that long COVID/vaccine issues are caused by excess stubborn autoantibodies. How do I clear those? I don't know that they have necessarily shown that to be the case. My understanding of long COVID just comes from all the people that I've treated now with long COVID. Unfortunately, group of people that I work with now is not just people with autoimmune diseases, but people who have long COVID. And my understanding of how this works is really the same as all other chronic diseases, is that people get sick and they stay sick, right? That's what we call chronic, right? Normally, if you get a virus infection, like a flu, you get sick and you feel sick, you've got the fever, you got the cough, you got the congestion, and then you recover and you go back to normal, right? Now, for people who are not very healthy, it might take them a couple of weeks to get back to normal. People who've done my program within 24 hours, usually they feel better, which, by the way, disproves the idea that omega-3s suppress immune function. They optimize it, just for people who've heard otherwise. So what I've seen with long COVID is the same thing that I've seen with autoimmune diseases, that people were living a lifestyle that was leading them to be sicker. They ate a lot of processed foods and animal products, and they had a lot of stress, poor sleep, etc. And that made them more vulnerable to chronic illness, because as you are higher stress, poor sleep, bad diet, you have more inflammation in the body. And that inflammation is going to cause dysfunction in your cells. It can trigger genes for disease. And so for people who, let's say, had autoimmune disease, often they felt okay. And then one day they woke up in pain, or one day they just were so exhausted and then they couldn't come back from it. And I always teach them it didn't happen overnight. It actually was a result of everything you did before, and you finally got sick enough that day to feel it. So if you have 100 trillion cells, whatever that threshold is, and we don't know, I'll make up a number, please don't believe this number, but let's make up a number that out of 100 trillion cells, you need 100 million of them to be sick for you to feel it. Let's just guess, right? If that was the case, well, the day before, you had just under 100 million, maybe 99 million. And then that night, the impact of your dinner kicked in and you get 100 million, the next day you're sick. Well, COVID seems to be the same way, where people felt like they were okay. Then they get this horrible virus and they survive it, but they never get back to baseline. And yet when they do rapid recovery with me, usually within a few weeks, they're already back to baseline, often sooner than that. So that tells me that what they really needed was more ingredients to finish the recovery. And hypernourishment, especially in the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, like we do in my groups, when you're doing it at that level, you are delivering the nutrition your body needs to repair the damage. And you're avoiding getting sicker by anything you're doing, either through your diet or through your lifestyle. So I don't differentiate that. Whether you're trying to recover from rheumatoid arthritis or long COVID, you're gonna be doing the same thing. We're gonna optimize the nutrition to make sure that your body can use the nutrients to repair damage and optimize immune function and get you feeling better. So no worries about having to differentiate that or to add or change it. And for those of you who are asking me that, to say, what do I do for Hashimoto's? What do I do for rheumatoid arthritis? What am I going to do for MS? It's the basic protocol is going to be the same. Now, there's ways I optimize it for different people once they get the hang of that, but you're still going to go for doing that Goodbye Lupus protocol. I call it that because my first book was Goodbye Lupus, about me healing lupus, right? But it's the same protocol. Goodbye Autoimmune Disease is then when we add in all the other lifestyle and emotional processes to get people healing as quickly as possible. All right, I'm leaning in, guys, because I have to look at Instagram. So, sorry about the close up here. Let's see if I can. Sorry, Instagram fills up. So one moment. All right, let's see. All right, you guys fill it up quickly, so I have to scroll. One sec. All right, cool. All right, Fit20 wants to know, how do I improve my energy throughout the day? So usually your energy is going to be dependent on, number one, how much sleep you get. All right, I had someone in my group once who was so annoyed that she was still tired, even though she was eating perfectly, even though she was only getting 3 hours of sleep a night. She got really mad at me about that because I said, you're going to have to sleep to get energy. And she was so mad. And I said, I'm sorry. If I got 3 hours of sleep a night, in fact, I did that when I was on call back in the day in my residency, I'm not going to have that same energy that I usually have, right? So number one, sleep. Are you sleeping enough? Do you wake up in the morning and feel refreshed? Or do you need an alarm to drag your butt out of bed? If you're not waking up naturally, you would have had more sleep without that alarm. You're not getting enough sleep. The second is going to be your hydration levels. Dehydration causes low energy. So if you are dehydrated, you do not need an energy drink. You do not need another cup of coffee. You need to be hydrated. So this is one of the reasons why hypernourishment helps people so much with their energy levels, is we are getting that hydration in. And the other part is how nourished you are. So if you are living off of processed foods or animal products and you're not getting all those vitamins and minerals, which by the way, only exist in plants, vitamins and minerals come from plants, then if you are malnourished, you will also be exhausted. And that's why a lot of people who maybe eat too much, they're still malnourished and therefore are exhausted. And again, hypernourishment is an overdose of nutrition to make up for that as quickly as possible. So sleep and diet, nourishment, okay, and hydration are the main factors. The other thing that affects energy levels is emotional stress. How many of you guys have ever had a day that was so stressful, so emotional, that you felt like you needed to sleep a couple days to get over it? I had those days, like when something terrible, you have a breakup with a friend, or you have, something horrible happened, somebody died, or something tragic happened, and you're crying about it. Yeah, it might take a day of like, oh, I need to sleep this off, right? So emotional stress as well. And those of you who are living with chronically feeling that way, that every day you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or depressed, that's exhausting too. So high emotional stress is also exhausting as well. When you rein all of those things in, you get really good energy. And again, this is what I do on a daily basis. So any of you who've met with me, my wellness appointments are 75 minutes. Why? Because I want to talk about all of it. I always tell them, I want to hear your story. Tell me about what it's like to be you. And I want to know what they're eating, of course, and how much sleep they're getting, of course. But what was it like for you growing up? And what are your emotions like? And how do you feel? And how do you sabotage yourself? What inspires you, right? I'm trying to get into here so I can figure out everything we need to do to optimize energy and to optimize health. And of course, in rapid recovery, you have to do that with me every day. But that's why it works so well. If you guys saw, we had some folks who were in the last group just gave us permission to share their Zoom meetings with us. And so we have one from Mary and one from Liz that I put up last week that you guys saw. And you can see they're on a high. They're just like, oh my God, I feel so good. And it's because we worked on all those areas. Their energy is amazing, as well as their health, because they're working on every single factor that was draining them or making them sick before. So that is all the things. All right, let's look over here. Let's go back to Facebook side of things. All right. Okay. Missy, that's a cool picture. Wants to know, is Napa, Savoy, and or green cabbage just as good and healing as kale? I'm wondering, since they're not as nice deep green or purple like kale and cabbage and red cabbage, I find a smoothie with 1 pound of kale, full grown with stems, not baby kale, is much more filling than a smoothie with 1 pound of Napa or Savoy cabbage. I get hungry sooner when I have Napa or Savoy cabbage, but also a smoothie with 1 pound of cabbage is yummier and more preferable than one with kale. Okay, so the answer is they're both cruciferous and they're both great. Personally, I never blend the stems from kale because the stems are so bitter. So usually I will peel the kale off of those stems and put them in, although most commonly, listen, I am lazy and busy when it comes to getting this stuff done. So I just buy the pre-washed greens and shove them in there and call it a day. And usually those are baby kale, spinach, stuff like that. But if you like the green cabbage, they are extremely nutritious. And you can also, play with different things. If you like how filled up you are in the kale, if you like the taste better with cabbage, you can interchange them. You can use them together. Maybe you add some kale to your, I don't know, you can play with it. But yes, they're all good. If you're eating the cruciferous vegetables and you're eating them in their raw, uncooked state, you are getting the benefits of hypernourishment. And that's all that matters. Variety is not as important as consistency. All right, you don't need to have 100 different ones. When people write to me and go, I can't get kale in my country. All right, well, can you get any cruciferous vegetable? Can you get spinach? Can you get chard? There's always at least one. And if you can get one, boom, you can hypernourish. So that's all that matters. All right, let's see here. We'll go over to YouTube. Let's see here. Some of these I've addressed before in other Q&As, so I'm moving around a little bit to see if I can find some stuff that might be a bit different. Okay. All right, here's one. So Lorena wants to know, can the Goodbye Lupus protocol help with hepatomegaly and H. pylori? Thank you. So hepatomegaly would be big liver. What's really interesting is I just got an email from someone. She did not give me permission to share her scans, but she sent it to me because she has cirrhosis. And she's been doing the Goodbye Lupus protocol on her own, and her recent scans show a dramatic improvement. I was taught in medical school, cirrhosis, that's end game, not going back from there. And her doctor is in shock right now. And she actually sent me the scan so I could see the dramatic drop in all of these different numbers. And all she did was do our protocol for her diet. So I don't know the reason that you have hepatomegaly, but I have also helped people completely reverse having high liver enzymes. Sometimes people will have fatty liver. That's not from drinking alcohol, but from having too much sugar in their diet. And all of those things have gotten better. So it is absolutely very healthy for liver. H. pylori. I haven't had people test H. pylori levels before and after, but definitely symptoms associated with them go away. And that's the most important thing, right? Is how you're feeling, not what we can find with tests as we do that. All right, here comes the Instagram lean in. So sorry, guys. I know you're all like, whoa. Okay, how about I say here? Okay. Here's a quick one here. So Kelly wants to know, will hypernourishing help with POTS? Yes, absolutely. I've had a lot of folks do my rapid recovery group for POTS, and they've done extremely well. So absolutely, absolutely. And since that was a quick one-word answer, even though I said it twice, let's see. Yanera's Mendiola. I have RA, and they say there's no remedy. How accurate is that? Is this your first time with me? It's not accurate, of course. So when doctors say that there is no remedy, there is no cure, you have this forever, it's just based off the fact that they have no experience in ever reversing these diseases or seeing people get better. Most rheumatologists keep their patient until their patient dies. That's why it takes longer to see a rheumatologist than it takes to see me, right? You can see me within a few months. Rheumatologists, I've had people tell me it took 6 months or over a year to be able to get an appointment. And that appointment was 5 minutes and they got a prescription, and then they went home with their disease and kept their disease, right? So, the way we're taught in our medical training is that these diseases are incurable, they're genetic, and you have them forever. But think about this. If it's genetic, then you would have been born with it, right? If it was purely a genetic disease, you would have been born with rheumatoid arthritis or lupus or whatever else it is that you're dealing with. It's not purely genetic. You have the genes that make you more susceptible to that illness. And then something has to turn those genes on because they weren't on when you were born. Some things are truly genetic. You're born with it, and that is what you have, and you have it forever, right? But there are diseases that we trigger. And yes, they're based off of our DNA. So my DNA says that if I get sick, I will get lupus, arthritis, migraines, headaches, kidney failure, blood clots, and all the things that I lived with for 12 years of my life, right? Other folks, it's going to be diabetes and I also had high cholesterol, but diabetes, high cholesterol, obesity, heart disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, all these other things, right? But again, you have to turn those genes on. So think about when it started, right? That your genes have been there your whole life. So to say that there's no remedy, that it is something that you have genetically and you will always have it, is not accurate, right? It is something you have a predisposition towards and it got triggered. Can we untrigger it? Yes. How do I know it? Thousands of people have done my program and done it, and we have the results to show, right? So the most important thing that you can do is let your doctor run the show when it comes to your medications with your, work with them on that, and then follow my protocol for your nutrition and show them what it really looks like. I had somebody, it was a child. I know we posted her results in Smoothie Shred. I don't remember if she let me post them in my regular social media, but her daughter had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and it caused one of her arms to get locked at an angle like this, and she couldn't straighten it. So she had one arm straight and one arm like this. And in her country, it was going to take a year to get in to see a juvenile rheumatoid doctor. A year, right? And meanwhile, she's trapped like this. So in the meantime, she started working with me, and she healed. Her arms now match. And by the time she got to the doctor, she was already fixed. She was fine, no pain, no problems, back to being able to do all the things she used to do before. And the funniest part, well, not funny, haha, but interestingly enough, let me say, her doctor said, currently there's no signs or symptoms of any disease at all. Her labs are perfect. Her x-ray looks good. But since this happened and it's incurable, we should put her on all the meds anyway. We're going to treat something that's not even there because we have a mindset that this is something that's incurable. So, it's just one of those things. So do what you need to do for you. Show them what the truth is. It can change things, because as rheumatologists start to really observe this, they're going to be more interested. And I have had rheumatologists contact me. I've had rheumatologists make their own appointments with me after their own patients got better with me. So just let it go in one side, right back out the other, and do what's good for you. Okay. All right, let's come over here to Facebook people. Let's see. This one comes up a lot. So Carlene, lots of question marks. Dr. G, is it necessary to take 300 micrograms of iodine when taking levothyroxine for hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's? If so, can I take all of it together an hour prior to my smoothie? It's the hardest thing for me to figure out. Yeah, you can take them all together, and yes, you still need it. The most recent studies have shown that the 300 micrograms is right, or 200 to 300, depending on which study you're looking on, but not more than that. Not more than that. So too much iodine becomes toxic, but not enough will limit thyroid function. And you do need iodine even if you don't have a thyroid. The reason that they started putting iodine into salt in a lot of countries, Western countries especially, is because it's a difficult nutrient to come by. And it's essential not only for thyroid function, but brain function. And so there are places in the world still where they are iodine deficient and they have brain diseases from it as well. So it's still a nutrient you need, even if you don't have a thyroid, just so you know. The more you know. All right, Insta. Let's see what's over here. Let's see here. All right. So this question here, Levi's hat, which pathogen causes MCIS and how to beat it? I don't think that we know everything there is to know about this. So mast cell activation, or people who are histamine sensitive, even that is, there are doctors still debating how to diagnose this or what to call it, right? There are definitely people who become more sensitive to it when they've got autoimmune disease. This can happen. It's also been known to happen to people who have gotten COVID, that they've become very sensitive to histamine issues. But we still don't know everything about it. The good news is you can still do hypernourishment to heal your body, even with low histamine choices. I mean, I actually have like different pathways in my group. We have like the regular pathway, then there's the low histamine version, then there's the kidney failure version, there's the heart disease version or heart failure version, for people who need adjustments to be able to still do hypernourishment because of these other problems that they're having. So I know that you can do it low histamine. And if you look online, you can find low histamine choices for everything. But in general, most cruciferous vegetables are fine for low histamine. It's the other vegetables that you have to work through, and fruits, you'll have to work through the list for that. And if you are sensitive, you're going to want to stick to the chia seeds or filtered flaxseed oil. Those would be the choices for you. Okay. Make sure if you're asking me a question about protocol, you tell me which one you're talking about. So GBL is Goodbye Lupus protocol. Okay, that's the protocol for my book, Goodbye Lupus, all about the foods you need to heal and the foods you need to give up. All right. GAIDP is the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, which incorporates the emotional components and lifestyle components, versus just hypernourishing, which is adding what you're missing so that you can get yourself healthy. So, for example, I'll show you what triggered me to say that. Lizzie wanted to know, can you eat carbs on the protocol? And I'm like, which one? First of all, you're eating carbs on all of my protocols because vegetables are carbohydrates, just so you know. Most people, when they think of carbs, are thinking of bread, but that's not accurate. I mean, vegetables are carbohydrates, fruits are carbohydrates, right? So all of those are carbohydrates. So you're always eating carbohydrates. My plan is mostly carbohydrates, right? But if you're asking about things like grains and potatoes and things like that, then it depends which one you're talking about. Hypernourishment, yes, and Goodbye Lupus protocol, no. All right, you would use it in the step down and maintenance programs. All right, let's see what YouTube's asking me. All right, Leo wants to know, how much salt do you recommend I take on a raw healing protocol, getting mild cramps, calf at night? So if you're on the Goodbye Lupus protocol, then you're likely drinking more water than you've ever had before. So if you're getting cramps and you think it's related to sodium intake, please do consume it. Now, I know people get really worked up about the sodium issue now almost as much as the fats issue, because there are, there's definitely data showing that too much salt has been hurting people. But what they're not taking into consideration is most people are eating enormous amounts of salt because of all the processed food that they eat, animal products that they're eating. There's so much sodium in those, right? And so people are overdosing on sodium in so many different areas. And then they drink like a little bit of water, a little cup of something a day, and they are super dehydrated, and they're putting a lot of pressure on their system to try to pump all that around and to function without hydration. On my protocol, people are having more water than they've ever had, and they've cut out all of the processed foods and animal products and everything. They're eating fresh fruits and vegetables. There's no sodium intake anymore. So what happens is people often will suddenly, they'll think I shouldn't eat any salt. So they don't eat any salt. They drink a gallon of water, and then they feel lightheaded or get leg cramps or something. And then they don't know what to do. So normally what I've seen is if you're drinking a gallon of water a day. So if you're doing this full one, here's mine. These are not props. I'm using this. See, I'm doing pretty well today, right? So if you drink your full gallon, usually you need about a teaspoon a day. Some people need a little bit more. Some people can get away with a little less, but I usually recommend about a teaspoon. So if you're having cramps, one way you can test it is if you're having leg cramps, take about a teaspoon of salt, put it in a small cup of water and chug it, and then see if the cramps go away. If they do, then you were low in sodium. You can also get a blood test for that, but that's not going to work in the moment at night when you're having cramps, right? If that's the case, increase it and then see how you feel. And then if it's ongoing, you can always get a blood test to make sure that that's the issue. All right. Instagram. Okay. So Move On Purpose Meek wants to know, how do you get rid of protein in the urine? Okay. So I know I'm reading your question when I see the hearts go up. It's like, yes, she begged me. So protein in the urine. Why do people get protein in the urine? Protein in the urine is caused by damage to the kidney, right? So your kidney is the filter for your body. Well, one of the filters, but it's the filter for things like electrolytes. So as you go through the kidney is supposed to filter electrolytes. So making sure that your blood sodium levels are correct and your blood potassium levels are correct, and other things. Okay. But if, so if you have, let's say, not enough sodium in your blood, it's going to pull more water out of your system to try to make the sodium level what it should be, right? Which is why you won't be as hydrated if you're low in sodium as well, because your body's just going to pee it all out. But these electrolytes are very small. The example I always use is that like a screen in your window. So I have a window over here, there's a screen in it. So if I open it up to let fresh air in, the air comes in and can go back and forth, right? But no bugs can get in. But if there is a tear in the screen, houseflies can get in, right? So same thing with proteins. Proteins are very large molecules. They should not be able to come out through into the kidney. They should never be able to cross over. The only way they're getting through is because of a tear. So the reason that you get protein in your urine is from damage to the kidney. How do you get rid of protein in your urine? You heal the kidney, right? So I've helped a lot of people reverse different kinds of kidney disease, whether it's lupus nephritis or IgA nephropathy. There's so many different types of kidney disease that people have come to me with, especially after I was able to publish reversing end-stage kidney failure and get people off a transplant list. I've been able to do that with a lot of people. And so the Goodbye Lupus protocol is the way. That's the way, right? Now, if you do everything and you still have some remaining protein in your urine, right, then number one, you might need to switch from the Goodbye Lupus protocol to the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, meaning it's not just nutrition, but maybe stress. I have one lady I'm working with like that. If you're listening right now, right, that's her biggest issue, right, is that she can stick, that when she sticks with the diet, everything, and things are calm, then it gets better. And then when there's a lot of stress or poor sleep, then it can get a little worse. But at least with the nutrition, it has not advanced. It is still like in a small range of up and down, but it has not progressed any worse, which is really, really good. So the more stress you have, the worse your sleep is, the more perfect you want your diet to be able to repair damage as quickly as possible and keep things from progressing, right? So you might need to work on those things. Now, if you do all the things and it does not progress, and you hit an amount where it's like, okay, I still have some protein, but nothing else is going on. My labs are gorgeous. Everything else is great. Then it might just be that there's some scar tissue there where some protein can still escape, a hole that became a scar where some protein can still get through, right? But it's just that one spot, and you should be able to, continue on as long as your body can handle it and your blood protein levels are normal. So it's still the same protocol, but there's so much hope. I had protein in my urine for 12 years, when I had the chemotherapy to save my kidneys when I was 16. So that's 30 years ago now. The chemotherapy was 2 years, high dose steroids every day. And they got me to at least get out of kidney failure. So, at the time they said I was 6 months away from kidney failure and dialysis. I was able to come back to a level where I had normal kidney function, but always protein in my urine. And I was told you'll have protein in your urine forever because your kidneys were damaged. But then 12 years later, when I did the protocol myself, the proteinuria went away and it never came back. So it's been 17 years now that I've never had a return, which showed that even after 12 years, my kidneys were inflamed and damaged, but they were able to recover. So you never know what you can do until you try. All right, let's see here. All right. All right, Penelope says, I just received my blood test and I'm low in iron. Is hypernourishment a good idea plus iron supplements? Thanks. Yeah, listen, if you're low in iron, then yes, doing hypernourishment can help, but also iron is necessary for making your blood cells. So if you need iron to help with anemia, then I do recommend that's a good time to use supplements. I don't use a lot of supplements, but if there's a deficiency that needs to be corrected quickly, then supplements are a good way to go. You just don't want to always do that and not do nourishment as well. I did have one gentleman who he was low in iron. So he was doing supplements and then he started doing hypernourishment and he used spinach because it was the highest iron content. And his iron levels got to normal and then they went above high. And I said, wait a minute, you still taking those supplements? He said, yeah. I said, let's go ahead and stop the supplements. And he stopped the supplements and then it came to normal. So whatever the issue was went away and he no longer needed the supplements. So if you need a supplement, okay, fine. As long as there's something that can help you, that matters most. But usually in a deficiency like that, people will do that. All right, let's see in YouTube. Okay. All right. We did get a fat question. Jilly Dilly and her cute dog in her picture. That's so cute. All right. I'm hypernourishing. I don't eat processed foods ever. Good for you. Between the avocados and 1.5 ounces of nuts, flax oil. I feel like I'm eating so much fat. My fitness app says I eat 70 grams a day. Is this okay? Yeah, it does not matter. We really have to stop being so reductive about nutrition. is a huge issue. That it's one of the reasons why it feels so confusing when it does not need to be, right? I mean, what animal in nature needs to calculate protein, carbs, and fat in order to be healthy? None of them. They just eat. They eat until they're full, and that works, right? The only animals with chronic disease are humans and animals raised by humans, because we have no idea what we're doing anymore when it comes to diet, right? Humans get sick from their food, and our pets do, right? I mean, the only time you see a fat cat, a human's feeding them, right? So it's really important. We don't need to be so reductive. We don't need to look at calories. Calories don't help at all. Calories really just tell you how much heat is released when you set it on fire, when you burn it, right? But 1,000 calories of kale, you will get a really fast metabolism and burn fat. 1,000 calories of cheese, well, now you're getting fatter and you're getting sicker, right? So it really doesn't matter. And I want you to just let all of that go. What matters is that you're getting all your nourishment in. And if you're doing hypernourishment, then you are, and make sure you are doing that. If you're not eating anything processed or animal products, and more importantly, if you feel good, you have great energy, you're working out, getting results, beautiful. You're doing a great job. All right. So don't worry about that. It sounds like you're doing really, really well. All right. Instagram time. Let's see. Okay. Swan Rachel, I have SLE neuro symptoms typically. Any specific combos that would be more helpful? So not necessarily anything different in terms of hypernourishment. We had somebody in our group, actually Maria, who made a video back in the day. I know it's on my YouTube still, who had neuro lupus that was causing her seizures every day, multiple seizures a day. And she did my rapid recovery group right from the ICU into the group. And her seizures went away within the first week, right? And it was interesting because I remember her parents told her, don't go right into rapid recovery from the hospital. You need time to rest and relax. We'll feed you, chicken soup and stuff. And then when you feel strong enough, then do it. She's like, no, I need to get out of your house, off your couch, back out to live my life again. And it worked very, very quickly, just doing the straight up rapid recovery protocol the way we have. So rapid recovery, of course, is my program where I work with them every day. But if you were going to do it on your own, I would say like the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, using it just the way it's done. Now, if you want to emphasize even more help for neuronal recovery, then when you are hungry again and have more room to increase things, you can do things like increase the omega-3 sources like the flax and chia seeds. But in general, you're still going to do the same thing. All right. So it's not like it's different to have the more neuro symptoms from lupus versus kidney versus lungs versus heart. It's just where it's sending the antibodies, right? So it's still the same process to get you back to healthy again. And I hope you're back to healthy again soon. I know it can be a very scary type of symptoms to live with. Okay, let's see here. I have to answer this one. Diane Marie, I wish there was a class to learn what you know and teach. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. There is. I have an online class on my website, and the online class teaches what's in my book, Goodbye Lupus. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll make a Goodbye Autoimmune class at some point, but the time. But I have a Goodbye Lupus class that has everything that's in my book, Goodbye Lupus, and case studies that people love. And that's on my website if you prefer that over reading the books. But you're welcome. Let's see. Michelle wants to know, will the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol be okay for someone without a gallbladder? Absolutely. It's a very common issue that people get their gallbladder out, and absolutely you can do the program without it. So just because you don't have a gallbladder doesn't mean that you're not making all your bile and everything. You just don't have a storage sac. So you might need to spread the fats out a bit because whatever you can't digest is just going to go on out of you. So maybe having your omega-3 spread out throughout the day, which if you're using them in smoothies, it's no problem. You just have a cup of smoothie every couple hours and that'll work just fine for you. Okay, let's see. Hello, everybody. Okay, so Carmen and Drider wants to know, has anyone cured vitiligo forever? So I can't answer a forever question yet because I haven't gotten there yet. I don't know what forever is going to be yet. So what I can tell you is that I have had people do rapid recovery with me for vitiligo. I had a 9-year-old girl who did rapid recovery with me for vitiligo, which I don't usually do rapid recovery with children. They have to interview with me first to see if they're really ready. but she actually was able to get repigmentation at the end of 28 days with me around her lips and on her forehead. And I've also had some people send me messages telling me that they had repigmentation, which is very, very exciting. So even if you can stop the process of losing pigment, that's great. If you can repigment, that's something that's otherwise unheard of in other places besides in my world, right? But yes, we have great results with that. I don't know what's going to happen forever for any of us, but I can say that we've seen really good results with that. All right, let's see here. What's going on the YouTube? All right, here's a good question. So Jen wants to know, I started your protocol for pain in my joints 5 days ago. I'm wondering if I can eat small amounts of beans and grains with all the raw veggies because I'm feeling low on iron and energy. All right, my confrontation time. I know everybody loves this part. So Jen, I'm going to pick apart what you said a little bit because it's really important as you guys who have come to my Q&As before, you've heard me do the coaching. Those of you in rapid recovery, you know the coaching goes deep and long. So anyway, very important to note how you feel and not diagnose it. So feeling low on iron, that's not a feeling, that's an assumption, right? You're feeling low energy and then you're assuming it means you're low in iron. But if you were low in iron, then how would the answer be to eat grains? So, I mean, I guess beans have some more iron, but yeah, it's just, so the most important thing is not to make an assumption about how you feel, because if you make the wrong assumption, it's going to lead you to the wrong conclusion, and the wrong conclusion is going to lead to the wrong action taking, right? So if you are 5 days into trying to start the Goodbye Lupus protocol and you are feeling low energy, it sounds like you're on the right track. Because usually about 5 days in is when people will start to feel what we call the detox process, or where you start to feel worse before you get better. So those omega-3s are integrating into your cells, toxins are being released, and suddenly you feel like you got the flu, tired. Sometimes people will even feel rashy and just like they'll think they have the flu. And I'm like, no, it sounds like detox, right? So if that's how you feel, it sounds right. If you eat off plan, you're going to abort detox, which will make you feel better. And then you'll think that you confirmed your theory, right? You'll be like, oh, I thought it was because I was low in iron. I ate beans and I felt better. So it must be because of the iron and beans, and all of that will be incorrect, right? If you abort detox, you will feel better in terms of this feeling that you're having, but you will not have the fast results you're looking for in a healing. So my answer for folks who are, if you're on the Goodbye Lupus protocol and you are full, meaning you know you're eating enough because you cannot fit anything else in there, and you know you're hitting all your numbers the way you need to, and you feel tired, sleep. All right. Your body needs to get through this. So what do you do for detox? If you're feeling tired, sleep. Your body does a majority of repair work while you're sleeping. So give it the time. If it's asking you, hey, I'm tired, can you please sleep? The sleep is a request. I mean, the tiredness is a request for sleep. So give your body what it's asking for. So rest more. Light exercise can help as well. Make sure you're staying fully hydrated, and it should pass. If you abort detox, you're just going to have to start all over again. But there is no need for beans or grains for energy. That's why, like, if you just watch the videos from the two people that I released last week from my recent group, that they both talk about how great their energy is, and they're eating nothing but raw vegetables and omega-3s, a little bit of fruit, water, and they're through the roof, right? And just if you're wondering, in our final group meeting, every single person who showed up had dramatic improvements. It was like a crying fest of how great it was. I just can only release things as people give me permission to. So it's not like 2 people got better and then the rest were like, no. Every single person in the final meeting had amazing results. And as people give me permission, I share them. A lot of people just don't want their face out there, but I just want to let you know that in case people take that the wrong way. Keep going, Jen. That's the answer. Keep going. Keep going. All right. Let's see. Facebook. Let me see here. We'll do one more here. Okay. Melanie says, hi, Dr. G. Have you ever worked with patients with moderate to severe sleep apnea If so, have they been able to experience significant improvement on the GAID protocol? Yes, absolutely. A lot of people with sleep apnea. I mean, one of the biggest risk factors for sleep apnea is obesity, and obesity is a common issue. So yes, absolutely, people have seen improvements in that. Yes. And also, there's people with interstitial lung disease that have gotten better. I was talking last week about that. We had a gentleman in his 70s with autoimmune disease caused in his lungs who was on the lung transplant list. And on week 5 of our group, he was kicked off the lung transplant list because his lungs were so much better. They were going to take his lungs out of his body and put new ones in and put him on immunosuppression for the rest of his life in his 70s. And in 5 weeks in rapid recovery, his lungs were so functional, he didn't need a transplant anymore. It's really good for the lungs. Really, really good for the lungs. All the organs appreciate it when you give them good nutrition. All right, time check it. All right, let's see. All right, Instagram. All right, Sarah Quinto Bellin. It's a lot of, that's a big one. I don't know if I said it right. You talk about diabetes. What about type 1? Have you ever cured type 1? So no, I've never had somebody. So when they're two different, well, now they have type 1.5 and stuff. But when you're talking about type 1 and type 2 diabetes, the type 1, you're looking at an autoimmune attack, cells of the pancreas that are responsible for producing insulin. Type 2 is insulin resistance, meaning you can produce insulin, but it's not working to make your cells pull in nutrient or sugar, right? So type 2 is caused by eating too much saturated fats, especially animal fats, and they're blocking the insulin receptors, right? Type 1 is autoimmune. So with autoimmune, with both of them, my protocol is going to be really important. I've never had someone with type 1 come to me when it was first happening, right? So if you want to make sure the immune system doesn't succeed in destroying the pancreas cells, then you would have to do it immediately while they were still inflamed. So I haven't had that opportunity yet. But for the people who've come to me with type 1 diabetes, who either came to me because that was their primary issue or because they had other issues as well, every one of them reduced their needs for insulin. And that could be because they were also insulin resistant on some level that they weren't aware of. Is it possible they produce more insulin? I don't know. That wasn't measured, but they definitely were able to improve. But I've never seen someone with type 1 no longer need any insulin. I have not seen that yet. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, we still got some time. Let's see what we can do here. And okay, crazy farm girl. Would this protocol aid in mental illnesses like depression, bipolar, manic depressive, schizophrenia, or a combination of these disorders? I've talked about that a lot in other Q&As, but to summarize what I've said before, yes, absolutely. Your brain function also is dependent on your nourishment levels, right? So if you are malnourished, then you're not going to be able to synthesize the right neurotransmitters in the right way. You're also not going to have good communication between cells the way you need to. Omega-3 fatty acids are necessary for healthy neurons, as well as cellular membranes, cellular interaction. So all of the things that we do to improve the health of the body will improve the health of the brain and the moods as well, mental health as well. So I have had results in helping people with all of those conditions using my protocol. Usually it requires more than that too, though. Usually we still need to work on different types of therapy to help with that. Sometimes people require medication depending on which of these disorders, but I have seen people come off of medication with aggressive nutrition. It's just that a relapse off their nutrition triggered them back again. So they decided to stay on medicine just in case for those reasons. But definitely it's one of the best things you can do for health in every area of your body is going to be doing really well with your nutrition. And when it comes to things like anxiety and depression, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that people feel dramatically changes, especially in my rapid recovery programs, is their level of depression and anxiety when they work through all of the different, so I have them have daily work every day where I'm working them through their different thoughts and feelings and how to interpret them and how to, release anxiety and instead work on game planning and problem solving. They will say that they've never felt so happy and so little anxiety as after doing that, but that's daily work. So it's the nutrition, but it's also the daily work of reprogramming all of that. So that they can release their old ways of thinking and doing things, like drawing conclusions and the other stuff you see me talk to people about here as well. So all of it's important. All right, let's see, Instagram. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Spice Coach wrote, I'm in remission due to your smoothie protocol. That's awesome, Spice Coach. You should write out what you're in remission from, so everyone else who's reading it that has your same or had your same condition can celebrate. Because I want to say, like, goodbye autoimmune disease, maybe. It's always good. That's why I'm here. That's why I spend this time with you guys. I want that to be the normal. That people are like, oh, I'm having some aches and pains, or oh, my cholesterol's too high. I know, I'll just do some hypernourishment, get on the Goodbye Lupus protocol, get myself healthy, move on with their lives. So you don't have to spend so much time with white coats. You know, you don't want to spend all your time hanging out with boring doctor people. You want to go out and live your life. All right. Okay, let's see if that's not a question. Make sure it's a question. When it's just a statement, I don't necessarily know what to do with it. Let's see. That's a statement. These are statements. Okay. So Tamara wants to know if hypernourishment will help with idiopathic intracranial hypertension or otherwise known as pseudotuberous cerebri. My daughter was just diagnosed. First of all, I'm sorry. I know that's really stressful. Now that I'm a mom, I realize it would be more stressful for me now to go through with the idea of one of my children being sick than it was for me to be sick. So I'm feeling that with you. I don't know is the answer. I never hypothesize. I only teach results. So if I haven't helped someone with that issue, then all I can say is I don't know. There's never a downside to hypernourishment. You assist the body in recovery. That's what it's specific for, is cellular repair and optimal immune function and recovery. So it's always a benefit, but I don't have any results where someone's come to me to treat that issue specifically. And without a result, I can't say yes or no. But let me know what happens. If you're going to go ahead and do that, because there's no downside, right? If you're going to do that, then please let me know how she does. And I know all of us are pulling for her. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Karen says, where can I find a comparison of your 3 protocols, hypernutrition, Goodbye Lupus, Goodbye autoimmune disease versus rapid recovery? So the best place to go for that is actually our Smoothie Shred group on Facebook. So since you're asking me a question from Facebook, then Facebook's good. For those of us who are over 40, Facebook, but if you're not, it's worth it just for that group. So our Smoothie Shred group, you can find it on our website, smoothieshred.com. So at smoothieshred.com, there's a link to our group and you can request to join the group. I already can see you're going to need a Facebook picture to be able to join the group. It's just a way of weeding out spam. There's a lot of spam bots and things. But in the guides section, so in our Smoothie Shred group, there's a guides section. And in the guides section, my husband actually posted what all the differences are so that you can know the difference between which protocol that you're on and what you would need to do to go from one to the next. So that's a free group that my husband created as a public service. And we have people all over the world in there who support each other every day who are working on this program. Rapid recovery is a program. So rapid recovery is not a protocol, it's a program where you do the Goodbye autoimmune disease protocol with oversight every day. So I'm looking over your shoulder to make sure that you're doing it right, to make sure it's working for you, and maybe you don't have a food sensitivity or we don't need to make some adjustments for you, to make sure that your self-care is effective, to make sure that your moods are good, your sleep is good, and help you in every way I can. That is the next level up, where you have me literally over your shoulder every day to make sure you're doing everything right and that you're getting results as quickly as possible. The other 3 are different protocols. And again, the Smoothie Shred group is the best place to go to see all that laid out in the guide section when you come in. And the second one is, are flavored balsamics compliant on any or all 3 protocols? With hypernourishment, yes, because that's just adding what you're missing. For Goodbye autoimmune and Goodbye lupus protocols, then no. Balsamics tend to be very high in sugar nowadays. Some of them are really like liquid candy, and people get so disappointed when they find out that their balsamic was what was keeping them sick. I've seen like 8 grams of sugar per tablespoon kind of situation, and it never says sugar in the label. It says grape must. But guess what? Sugar. Just like when we all found out corn syrup meant sugar, grape must. So if you're going to use a balsamic, you want to make sure that it doesn't have more than 2 grams of sugar per serving, or you're just eating candy. So that would not be on it. All right, let's see here. Okay, all right, let's see. Go back over here to Insta. All right, Gina Q, does a smoothie enzymes last all day? If you do it early morning, should one use a straw? If you're asking if the effectiveness of the smoothies last, if you make it in the morning and you have it all day, yes, you can absolutely use your smoothie all day long. Is there some breakdown in nutrition as the day goes on? Sure. But again, it's an overdose in nutrition. So it's okay. Whatever the breakdown is, you're still getting benefits. How do we know? Results. So most people make their big blender in the morning, some even the night before, and then they drink it all day and they still reverse disease. And so that's all that matters. So some people prefer to have it fresh, and that's fine. If you prefer it fresh, then have it fresh. But if you have it within 24 hours, usually that works out just fine. And as for a straw, I do recommend a straw. Just to keep the stuff off your teeth. You do not need to chew a smoothie. It's not a good idea. You're probably going to set yourself up for cavities and for having, teeth with some mineral deposits on it that aren't as white and pretty as you want them. So I do recommend it. Plus, it's easier to get it down. So, okay, over here. Let's see. All right. Oh, this one makes me sad. Andrea says, I've talked to other people with lupus on our Facebook group from Romania, and many of them are talking about being forbidden to take flax seeds or chia seeds because they have phytoestrogens, which are supposed to activate lupus. That's not true. Let me just say it right solidly there. It's just not true. I'm reversing lupus in people every single day, every day. And they're doing high doses of flax and chia seeds. So without me even getting into phytoestrogens, which actually do not activate lupus, I don't even know where this came from, but I'm trying to not, the New Yorker starts to come out in me and I want to call, it's cow poo is what it is. Okay. It's nonsense. It's just not true. So, yeah, don't listen to that. It's just, and you can't be forbidden, right? Even your doctors work for you, right? Nobody can make you do anything. I can't make you do anything. You're going to have to decide what makes the most sense. And when it comes to disease reversal, especially when it comes to nutrition, make sure to ask the person when they give you advice. So if your doctor says, this is a new one for me, it hurts me to say it out loud. If the doctor says, don't eat chia seeds because it will activate lupus, please ask them to tell you about how many patients they've seen who got lupus after eating chia seeds. Please, and then whose lupus went away then when they removed it. Otherwise, they're just talking out of their butts. You've got to go off of results and not off of thoughts and theories. This is when smart people sound dumb, is when they start spouting off on theories and thoughts instead of just talking about results. And this is just ridiculousness. So I'm sorry that these people are getting these terrible results. But if you want to know how flax and chia affect lupus, then you can just look in my direction. I still consume it every day. Look, I'm working on my smoothie here, not a prop, actually consume it every day. And it's kept lupus away for over 17 years. All right. That's just garbage. So I had to address it. Sorry, I get worked up about that. If people would say, I don't know, instead of giving bad advice, it would save lives. It would just save lives. Saying, I don't know is not malpractice. Giving someone bad advice could be, if there's a negative impact, right? So talk to your doctor and find out where you're getting this from and what are you basing it off of and what results can you do? And if they don't have any, then you're allowed to tune it out, right? I can't give specific advice to any of you without knowing you, right? So there is no medical advice here. I'm always supposed to say at the beginning, but I never remember, right? This is just me talking in general terms about nutrition, the impact on disease, but it's based off of results. So has bad advice. All right. Love doggies. I love doggies too. Any advice for someone facing colon removal? It would really depend on the reason for your colon removal. I mean, is it cancer? Is it Crohn's or ulcerative colitis? Or why are you getting colon removal? I mean, we have to work on the disease, right? So definitely We have to work on the reason behind it and what disease is causing it. I have helped someone prevent getting their colon removed with Crohn's last year, where he refused to even consider changing his diet, 19-year-old, until they wanted to schedule the surgery. And then he was willing to do rapid recovery with me. But at that point, he was on massive amounts of pain meds and bleeding from his rectum all day and just like tortured by it. I got the bleeding to stop, the pain to stop, and we were able to no longer have him need to have surgery anymore. But it was a tough road for him. It was really hard. So it just depends on the reason. But whatever it is, we got to get to it. I'm sorry if that's you facing that down. I'm sorry. That's a terrible thing to be told. All right. Well, all right. Since we started here, let me get one more Instagram so it's fair. One more for fairness. Let me see. Let me find one. Let's go on. I love all I'm just reading through when you see me smiling. Your protocol works. I'm so grateful for you. I'm in remission with no flare-ups. It's just cool. I have the best job in the whole world. Let's see. Giving up spot processed food saved my life. All right. Here's one more, since we were talking about colons today. Tina, how are you, Tina? You're mentioning colonoscopy. What do you eat to prepare? No fiber. You know, it's interesting. I just saw somebody who was a plant-based gut doctor saying like no fiber for a week before colonoscopy. I didn't do that. I actually did my normal food up until the day before, but I'm a high raw plant-based eater. So I still did my smoothies. I still had my salad for dinner 2 days before my colonoscopy, and I didn't have a problem. So, but I don't do colonoscopies ever, but he did say it was squeaky clean. For those of you who care to know that stuff, he said he went up the whole way and it was completely clean. He's like, you were so clean. It was like I told somebody else to do double the laxatives. Like it was just, he did say it was the colon of a teenager. So I was very proud of that. 46, anything that looks like a teenager, I'm happy. But I didn't have to do that. So I don't know. So it won't, it's okay to do low fiber leading up to it. But what I did was just the day before switching to water, tea, fresh pressed juices, and the horrible laxatives that you have to take the day before, which is absolutely disgusting. And that was fine for me. And then the next day, like I said, I was in and out of there so quickly. I guess he was too. And it was completely clean. Like he literally was clapping when he came in to see me for my follow-up, because he said it was just amazingly clean and useful. So, hey, I don't know in general if that's the true for everyone. Maybe it's just because I do eat so clean. Everything works really well. I do clear out every day. There's nothing waiting in there from last week. So yeah, so I think that really depends. But knowing you, Tina, I'm guessing that you're probably pretty clean as well. And, but it's up to you. So if you want to switch over to like fresh pressed juices for a couple of days before, just to make sure there's no fiber, I don't think there's harm in it. But personally, I didn't do that and I didn't have an issue with it. So it really depends to how healthy you are, right? Like everybody on this, Q&A right now has different levels of health. Some of you are still eating terrible diets, right? And others of you have been, following my protocol for a while and you're just like super clean and healthy. So I think that really makes it different for different people. But those laxatives sure are effective. I can't even imagine. I was already empty like by the end of the morning and I still had to take them for the rest of the day. That's the worst part of it. I don't have any memories of the actual procedure. But the day before, don't make any plans, is all I'm saying. All right, guys, on that note, talking about my colon, I'll talk about anything. I am truly transparent about my life in service to helping as many of you as I can. So since we do have that new study on the colon, and because you already know that nutrition is the biggest factor that impacts your health and your vitality, take action. Don't wait to find out, where will my bad nutrition show up? Will it be in my colon? Will it be in my thyroid? Will it be in my joints? Let's just start taking really good care of you. And if what you're doing is working, fantastic. If it's not, it's time to get more intense. So if you're not fully on plan with the protocol, if you're just hypernourishing, time to go into the Goodbye Lupus protocol. It's not working. If you're doing the Goodbye Lupus protocol, you're still having symptoms. One, make sure you're doing it right. And two, maybe it's time to get into the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease protocol, right? My book, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, has tons of work for the emotional work, self-sabotage, anxiety, trauma, depression, all these things that affect people's ability to recover. Maybe it's time to move into that realm. And if you've done all that and you're struggling, then you might need to actually let me see you. Right now, you can only see me, right? But sometimes I do need to see you. And then you can always go to goodbyelupus.com and make an appointment or do a program with me or something. And my goal is to make sure that I'm the last doctor that you need, that I can help you get rid of this and free up your time so you can hang out with much more fun and interesting people than white coats. So hope that helps all you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic week. Happy hump day. And I'll see you next week. All right. So bye, everyone.